Anjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Anandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Sri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Taigo Premananda. So, welcome everyone. I discovered something this morning, which was a lot of notes I had taken on the story of Nalakuvara Manigriva, and it's quite interesting. And what we were reading before was quite philosophical. I think maybe too philosophical for the average Prabhu. So was there any message sent out that there wasn't class today or something? Or everybody's sleeping, or I don't know. Everybody is.
No, everything is normal.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna, I haven't looked at this document in many years, but anyway, I'm gonna look at it now. And we're gonna discuss it and see where this takes us. So I have a, Nala Kuvera Manigriva they were the sons of Kuvera. So Kuvera is the treasurer of the demigods. So the understanding is they were quite wealthy. And sometimes wealthy people become degraded. So Nala Kuvera and Manigriva were the sons of Kuvera. And they, being the sons of an exalted demigod, were expected to be cultured. But it turns out they were spoiled and they got involved with women and drugs or some kind of somarasa or some kind of high-end intoxication and very licentious. So as we know, the way the story goes, Narada Muni thought that these are sons of such a respectable person. They need to be rectified, punished, whatever. So he showed his mercy. They didn't deserve it, but they got it. And so I have a little joke. If you look at this story, they eventually got love of Godhead, right? They met Krishna. So if you want love of Godhead, just go get high and go bathe naked with women and you'll get it. As long as Narada Muni shows up. But if he doesn't show up, then you just accumulate all this bad karma. So that's basically what was their qualification. They were intoxicated and they were with their girlfriends. And Narada Muni decided, okay, we need to give them mercy. And because he decided, Krishna agreed. Otherwise, there was no reason Krishna would have ever had anything to do with them. But because Narada Muni recommended them. So I read this story. I don't know if I told you this. I read this story yesterday or the day before. Maybe I told you this. I'll say it again. It's such an important point. Prabhupada had a godbrother who was using the Gaudiya Math for his own purposes, and Prabhupada criticized him. Did I tell you this story? You don't remember? Doesn't look like you remember. So, a really amazing story. This person utilized the Gaudiya Math, the money from the Gaudiya Math, to plan to take the Gaudiya Math and make it his own institution after Bhaktisiddhanta left. And he did other things, which were made him very much disliked by the other God brothers. And Prabhupada would often criticize him for not helping ISKCON, not acknowledging ISKCON, and said that he had made many offenses. And when he died, Prabhupada said he went back to Godhead, and they asked, how could he go back to Godhead? And he said, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta accepted his service. He said, that's why. Even though he made many offenses, Bhaktisiddhanta accepted his service. If Bhaktisiddhanta accepts his service, Krishna accepts it. So if Nalakumbhara and Manigriva are to be blessed by Narada Muni, then Krishna will bless them. So if you're accepted by a pure devotee, like whatever you've done, it doesn't matter. If you're somehow accepted by a pure devotee, you're accepted by Krishna. Isn't that amazing? He went back to Godhead, even though he was a Vaishnava Aparadi, because Bhaktisiddhanta accepted his service. Wow. Nice, huh? Okay, so I don't recommend it. I don't recommend intoxication and naked bathing. But somehow or other, that got Nalakumbhara Manigriva back to Godhead. That's amazing. Do you know, in 1967, Srila Prabhupada went to a nudist colony? Did you know that? Just north of San Francisco. And he went out there to preach. And that's where Tamal Krishna Maharaj came from. I think Vishnu John Swami came from there. Another God brother, Gaur Hari. I don't know who else, but Prabhupada went to a nudist colony to preach. Well, it was a hippie commune. I don't call it a nudist colony, but Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada showed his mercy, and I don't know how many became devotees. I know those 3 became devotees, maybe more. I think there were more. Now, the interesting thing is, when Narada Muni came, if you remember the story, when Narada Muni came, they were pretty intoxicated. The women that were with them were embarrassed. They covered themselves, but Nalakumbhara and Manigriva, they didn't really pay attention. And so they didn't properly respect a sadhu. They just kind of like ignored him. I didn't pay much attention to him. So the girls weren't cursed because, or better, they actually would have been good if they were cursed. But anyway, but they weren't cursed because they showed respect. So one of the points that's pointed out here is that it wasn't that Narada Muni was cursing them because they were intoxicated and because they were engaged in illicit affairs with women. What most concerned him was that he was proud. Isn't that interesting? He was more concerned with their pride, because pride is more of a block to Krishna consciousness, like illicit sex, intoxication. You chant Hare Krishna, the results of those sins can be overcome. But pride is a much bigger obstacle. That's sometimes devotees say, I'm having trouble following the regulative principles. But that's not the real obstacle. The real obstacle is ego. That's the bigger problem. A lot of times we think, I'm doing good, I'm following the regulative principles, but pride's a bigger problem. So I was thinking about pride today, and it's such a problem that most of the time we don't even know we're proud. We're not able to even calculate the depths of our pride and how it manifests and the workings of false ego. It's so subtle, but it's what got us in the material world, and it's what keeps us here, you know. Illicit sex, intoxication are sinful activities, but they're not the fundamental activities of the conditioned soul. Like we have stories that the pujaris in Jagannath Puri would eat fish, and Lord Jagannath accepted it somehow or other. But we see that Krishna doesn't tolerate pride. That's it's I don't know. I think sometimes we don't realize what a big obstacle it is to our spiritual life, and how humility is really the sign of advancement. As you're advancing, you start to recognize more and more your own disqualification and how far you are from Krishna. And as you do that, you'll see that you'll tend to honor and respect other devotees more and people in general. So that's one way to understand in your own life how you're progressing in your humility or lack thereof of humility. As you may do something great, but you always feel, no matter like what you do, you always feel like, I'm not great. And so you do something great and say, yeah, that was great, but I'm not great. And it's not a psychological problem. It's actually humility. You don't have low self-esteem. You just feel like, this is all Krishna's mercy. It's all Prabhupada's mercy. I have so far to go. That just becomes your natural state. And in that state, you have more respect for devotees. In that state, you're not, you don't criticize because you're always thinking, who am I to criticize? Isn't it? So when we criticize, we're thinking, I am qualified to criticize. Not, who am I to criticize? Who am I not to criticize? I'm very qualified. So these are things to just note, because we don't always note them, and we should note them. And whenever that tendency is there to disrespect another, we should just think it's pride. Sometimes it's subtle. Hey, Prabhu, give me this. Prabhu means master. Hey, master, give me this. No, it doesn't work that way. Hey, master, how can I serve you? Or master, I can't reach that. Would it be okay? Would you mind if you could give that to me? Just little subtle things, right? Show how our pride, you ever say, oh, I just heard someone gave a class. It was amazing. And he said this and that. And you go, oh, I knew that. Everybody knows that. I knew that 100 years ago. Pride coming up. So whenever you see that in yourself, then you could note, oh, was that pride? Is that why I said that? Oh, they just discovered that. I knew that. I studied that 5 years ago. I was way ahead of the curve. I was a revolutionary. Before anybody knew that, I knew that. Like, why are you saying that? Why do you have to say that? Pride, it's pride, isn't it? And it often goes by and we don't even register that I'm saying that because I'm proud, or I'm dealing with this devotee in this way because I'm proud. I should be more respectful. So just trying to point out, it is a big problem, and Krishna is concerned about it. And so, as I've said before, if you look in the Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll find many, many incidents in which Krishna is curbing the pride of his devotees. And we know from these incidents, Brahma being curbed, Indra, his pride being curbed, Brahmins, the wives of the Brahmins, their pride being curbed, even the gopis, just go down the list. There's a lot of pride being curbed by Krishna. So Narada Muni is Krishna's representative. So just as Krishna curbs the pride of his devotees and others, Narada Muni, as a servant, is also curbing pride. And Prabhupada, whenever he saw pride, he would curb it also. And a lot of times it was subtle. And sometimes he would say things very, kindly and sympathetically, but he was actually curbing pride. Like, you may remember I told the story where I had written Prabhupada with an idea to form a band, and if we become famous, or when we become famous, we could have tremendous influence on the thinking of the youth, and also have create a facility to distribute thousands and thousands of books at our concerts. We would give them as gifts. And Prabhupada, he wrote me and he said, you should not desire to become proud. You should try to make Krishna proud. Excuse me. Don't try to become famous. You should make Krishna famous. And that's kind of what I thought I was writing in the letter, that, if we become famous, we make Krishna famous. And Prabhupada said, you should not try to become famous. So he caught me on my pride, but it wasn't heavy. It was just, don't try to become famous. So we see that, wherever pride is rising, and Prabhupada would see it, cut it out. There's another story I told. You may remember. You remember this story about the devotee who made a book cover for Prabhupada? Because devotees were putting their books, their Bhagavatams, on the floor during class. And so he made a book cover. So if you have a book cover, then it's not on the floor because there's a cover. It's like on the cloth. And he made it for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, what's this? And he said, it's a book cover. So when you put your book on the floor, your book's not on the floor. It's got this cover. And the devotee who told the story said he was thinking he was like the smartest, most creative devotee in the three worlds for coming up with this book cover, right? And Prabhupada just knew everyone's mentality, and you couldn't do something which was motivated by this kind of thinking and not get stopped by Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said, what is this? And he explained it. So when you put your book on the floor, Prabhupada said, I do not put my book on the floor. And just, deflated this balloon of pride. I do not put my book on the floor. You put your book on the floor. I don't put my book on the floor. So, and the devotee had also brought a mango. So then Prabhupada said, I guess he had a bag. He said, what else is in the bag? And he said, oh, Prabhupada, I have a mango. But now the devotee was humble. He realized that Prabhupada popped his bubble of pride. And he said, now he gave the mango in a humble state because he was definitely humbled. And Prabhupada immediately said, this is the best gift, mango, king of fruit. So now Prabhupada could praise him because now he was proud. He was no longer proud. So there are many stories like this. Yeah. And one of the most famous in ISKCON was one devotee, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who was temple commander, and apparently he was acting in a proud way. And so Prabhupada was trying to curb his pride. You must have heard this story. This story has been circulating in ISKCON since I joined. And Prabhupada said, there are unlimited universes. And in this universe, there are unlimited planets. And of all the unlimited planets, there is one planet, it's called Earth. And Earth has unlimited living entities, and it has unlimited cities. And so on this one planet in one universe of unlimited universes, in one city of hundreds of thousands of cities, there is one person amongst unlimited billions named Tamal Krishna Das, and he's thinking he's very important. So it was kind of a joke, but Prabhupada was making his point. So my point is that neither Krishna nor the Guru is happy when the devotees are proud, but they're quite concerned to curb the pride. So we'll go for another half hour or so, then we'll take the questions. I have actually a lot here. So then you might think, well, Narada Muni wanted to deliver them, but there was no qualification. So why would Krishna be obliged to do it? Why couldn't Krishna just say, sorry, Narada, I understand your desire, but they're not qualified. So here's a quote, and I don't know where it's from, unfortunately, but I'll read it. When a superlative devotee like Narada this is Krishna speaking, when a superlative devotee like Narada commits me in some way, I am a puppet to their will. Moreover, purified of their offenses, the two brothers' devotion to me is blossoming, and that devotion should now bear fruit. So that's I think Krishna's thinking when he's about to pull them down. So Krishna is saying, if the pure devotee wants it, whether it's good, bad, right, wrong, whatever, I'm a puppet to their will. They've been sitting in this courtyard doing this austerity, so they've been purified of their offenses. And now this is all going to bear fruit by the will of Narada. So the goodwill of the pure devotee, the grace of the pure devotee, the blessings of the pure devotee. This is everything. Yesterday I was giving a lecture. It's recorded. I'm not sure when it's going to be shown. I think it'll be shown maybe on the beginning of November. And we were talking about mercy versus justice. And I kept making the point over and over again that if you please the pure devotee and you get their mercy, anything can happen. Anything is possible. Our spiritual life can go to the moon in 1 second. So what can never be possible any other way can mystically and magically be possible by pleasing a pure devotee. And also, conversely, you can be very, very advanced. And if you offend a pure devotee, a very elevated devotee, it can destroy your bhakti. So, and these examples are all throughout our Shastra. So this is a really nice story because it shows if you get the favor of a pure devotee, then even you're engaged in sinful activity that way. The pure devotee can desire that you become Krishna conscious, and Krishna will arrange that. And one time, Prabhupada was talking to a man, I forget the context, and he asked the man, have you seen Krishna? And the man said, no. And then Prabhupada turned to one of his disciples, maybe it was after the conversation, the man had left, and said, have you seen Krishna? And she said, no, Prabhupada, but I want to. And Prabhupada said, I want to show you. So if Prabhupada wants to show us Krishna, well, we're quite fortunate. And we just have to stay on his good side, and then he'll show us Krishna. So that's really, in a sense, All we're trying to do is be able to please the pure devotees. And if we please pure devotees, we're doing good. And if we displease or offend pure devotees, it tends to cause us to make more offense, and we end up destroying our spiritual lives. It's unfortunate. So I'm just going to read some things and discuss. I think this is all the part of the story where Krishna is now going to take the mortar between the two trees and cause them to fall. So Krishna got on his knees and slowly moved the mortar while his friends watched. He moved it slowly so it wouldn't make noise and thus attract the attention of Jasoda and upset her, and thus he'd get scolded again. They didn't know what he was going to do, but they knew something special was about to happen. I think they means Nalakuvera and Manigriva, now in the form of trees. He was now beginning to fulfill the curse of Narada. Quote, for the sake of Narada, I will bless Nalakuvera and Manigriva. They were not qualified to meet Krishna because of their wealth or birth, but because of the will of a pure devotee. To meet Krishna is very rare. So this shows that no material qualification, not because they were sons of Kuvera could they meet Krishna. But this was solely the will of Narada. And Prabhupada wants to show us Krishna. Prabhupada wants us to go back to Godhead. So that is amazing. That is our only hope. And we can please Prabhupada. Sometimes he pulled the mortar. Sometimes the mortar moved on its own. Because everything in the spiritual world is personal. So the mortar could move without Krishna pulling it, just by Krishna's desire. By coming in contact with Krishna, both the rope and the mortar assumed spiritual forms, and so could act according to their own will. And both wanted to serve Krishna in their own way. So, you know, when the milk boiled over, Mother Yasoda was feeding Krishna, and the milk boiled over. And you know why the milk boiled over? Because the milk is a person. And the milk was thinking, oh no, if Krishna drinks all of Mother Yasoda's milk, then Krishna's not going to want my milk. So I want to serve him with my milk. I have no service. It's a person. So I'll boil over and then she'll have to put him down, and then I can serve him. So the mortar is a person, the rope is a person. So they want to do service, and they know what Krishna wants. So on their own, they'll do, instead of Krishna pulling the mortar on their own, they'll do. Interesting, isn't it? And you're all sitting there thinking, okay, milk is a person. A mortar is a person. A rope is a person. I don't understand that. Well, that's okay. Someday you'll understand. Satchidananda, everything is conscious. Life is conscious, right? That's the difference between life and matter. Matter is not conscious, but everything in the spiritual world is conscious. If everything is conscious, it means everything is alive, right? Sometimes people say, God should intervene. You know, people are doing horrible things to the world, one another, God should intervene and interfere with their free will. But free will is the nature of consciousness, so you can't interfere with it. To interfere with it would mean to make you turn into matter. So because everything is conscious in the spiritual world, that means everything is a living entity, it's alive. So it can be a mortar, it can be a rope, it can be a whatever. Interesting, isn't it? You want to go there? Check it out. If I were you, I'd want to go there. So then, Nalakaya and Manigriva as trees, they knew they were cursed, they would meet Krishna and this would happen. So now they are realizing the time has come, this is happening. And as trees, they're like bowing down because they know they're going to come out. Nice, huh? So this is what Krishna was thinking. Nalakuvara and Manigriva have remained passive observers of my pastimes because they're in the courtyard, so they're seeing the pastimes. They can't engage, but they can watch. They are not yet participants. To fulfill Narada's words, I must draw them into my pastimes. Only with the blessings of my Lila Shakti can they be freed of their sins and be blessed with devotion. So this was Narada's desire. And Krishna's, going full ahead to fulfill that desire. So here's what happened. The two trees had grown from the same root. You see? And they grew like this. Not like that, like this. So there's a little cave, small cave, right? So it says here, although they did not entwine, they touched, and so formed a small cave with their trunks. It was that cave through which Krishna wiggled without touching either tree. When Krishna reached the other side, he kept crawling, all the while looking behind him expectantly. The rope addressed the mortar. Oh, friend, this is where we play our final roles in this pastimes. I think saying that that's where the mortar went in, right in between those trees. The mortar said, what a wonderful pastime. Saying this, the mortar, which had been moving lengthwise, turned sideways, becoming too wide to pass through the opening. In direct contact with Krishna, the mortar knew the Lord's desires. Krishna smiled. Speaking to the rope, the mortar said, friend, prepare yourself. I am ready. The rope that encircled Krishna's waist was Mother Yasoda's hair ties, and the rope that secured him to the mortar, silken cord used for churning. The rope that encircled Krishna's waist was Mother Yasoda's hair ties, and the rope that encircled him to the mortar, silken wooden cord used for churning. Oh, okay. So we have this, and then you get the mortar in, and it goes sideways, and now you can pull the two trees. And Mother Yasoda's hair ties were finally the rope that tied Krishna to the mortar. And then the rope that encircled Krishna's waist was, the rope that encircled his waist was her hair tie. It's a big hair tie, there's a bunch of them. And the churning ropes were the ropes, silken ropes that tied him to the mortar. They were used for churning. But they weren't, those were the ropes they were using. But those ropes weren't strong enough. It's just like little silken ropes. But the ropes are living entities, and they knew what job they had to perform. So the ropes became more powerful because they're living entities. And so the mortar, it helps itself position itself. So the mortar And the robes, in one sense, are non-different from Krishna. So now the rope and the mortar are touching the trees. Nalakuvera are feeling ecstasy. They're actually shivering. Hare Krishna. So now Krishna looks like, okay, I gotta do this. You know how you look when you're putting out all your efforts. I was like, Krishna was pulling like that. Like this. So he tugged at the trees. Krishna was pulling, and then the rope went flack, and Krishna fell backwards. And his legs went up. And so Krishna fell down, but then right at that point, when the ropes became slack, they became slack because the trees were falling, and the trees could see Krishna. So the trees fell sideways because they say Krishna's here. They didn't want to fall like that, so they fell away from him. As they fell, the mortar rolled in between their trunks and came to rest by Krishna's feet. Krishna patted it as they would a favorite calf. By felling the trees, Krishna again miraculously displayed two contrary characteristics. His inestimable power as the Supreme Lord and his unbounded sweetness as a little child. This phenomena was also seen earlier when no length of rope was able to encompass his chubby body. So two things were going on here. You had Aishvarya Shakti, which is the power to bring down the trees, and you have Madhurya Shakti, or the Lila Shakti, that would ensure that this Lila would not compromise his position with Yasoda, but actually would enhance it. So, because if you see Krishna toppling down two trees, it's like, what kind of kid is this? This is like not, is this really my son? How can this happen? It brings up so many questions. So when the trees fell down, there was this sound, like unusual sound. There was the crack of the trees being uprooted and the crash hitting the ground. So it kind of sounded like thunderbolts cracking. Like an explosion, or like a Brahmastra. And so it said the sound was such that even on the higher planets they could hear it. And the demigods were frightened. So you can imagine what the residents of Braj were thinking when they heard that sound, that even the demigods were frightened by. Like, what's going on out there? Yeah. It was like, I mean, you could, if you imagine you're sitting in your room and there's this sound that's shattering sound, you'd be worried, right? So they're all in anxiety now. So they were so much in anxiety, Krishna caused them to faint, and he made the earth soft, so they just fall over in the earth, so not have to worry about anything. So now Krishna's friends, they were right there watching this Leela. They didn't know what was going on. They were just watching it because they stay with Krishna. And so when it happened, they put their hands over their ears. And so, they saw the whole thing. And they were just sitting there and they were like, oh, whatever Krishna does, we don't have to worry. So, Krishna's on the ground, the trees are falling, and the boys want to help, but by Yogamaya's potency, they couldn't get up. She didn't want them to help. And Krishna needed to deal with Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So Yogamaya knew that, so she didn't want all the boys around whoa, good job, Krishna, let's go have some lunch. No. So the boys didn't know why they were immobile. But they're it's like a painting. I just stopped. So, so now Krishna, he fell over, he gets up and he's just sitting on the ground and he has the rope and he's just flicking the rope like this, to the mortar and back. And he's laughing. He said, this rope caused all this, explosion. And the other reason Krishna was laughing was, or the main reason, he's saying, he's looking at the ropes and saying, these ropes were able to knock these trees down, but I have all the power, but I can't free myself from the ropes of affection of Mother Yasoda. So, it's like I'm able to get out of these ropes, I'm able to knock trees down, but my mother ties me up with affection. Those ropes I can't get out of. So he was kind of laughing, thought that was funny. So now he's just playing like a little boy. So now Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they emerge. All their jewel. You've seen the pictures, all the jewelry, there they are, come out of the trees. So they were no longer naked. They came out of the trees, decked out, dressed to the nines, crowns, ornaments, well-dressed royalty amongst the demigods. And that was Narada Muni's arrangement. So when he cursed them and blessed them that they would be in Krishna Lila, he made sure that when they came out by his desire and arrangement and power, they would be dressed. So Krishna was kind of ignoring them. He was playing with the rope and he saw them. He was he was just focused on playing with the rope more than dealing with them. But Nalakuvara and Manigriva kind of took it in a positive way, oh, he's acknowledging us. Yeah. So, yeah, what's up, N and M? What's going on? Something like that. So then they began to offer prayers. And they were saying how, Narada Muni was merciful on us. It was all your plan. And our obeisances to you, we accept this plan and we're fortunate that this happened. And Krishna just kind of smiled, a mischievous smile at them, and he said, why are you paying obeisances to me? I'm just a naughty coward boy. So now he's playing with them. Said, look at, I was naughty and my mother had to tie me to a mortar. Why are you bowing to me? It doesn't make any sense. And they said, well, you may be tied to a mortar, but you liberated us. And ordinary boys can't do that. So they knew who Krishna was. And they're telling him, you're the supreme person. That's why you did it. You know everything. Krishna clapped his hands and he started laughing. He said, why are you making up these stories that I'm the master of creation? Can't you see like who I am? And so Nalakuvara understood, okay, Krishna is joking with us. So he understood, okay, this is what's going on. Mm, mm. And they said, we heard our father speak about your glories long, long ago, and recited all the texts from the Shastras. And Krishna said, what text did you hear? And they said, well, we heard Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. You're the supreme controller. And Krishna says, so many people have the name Krishna. And Manigriva says, yeah, but there's only one who tends Surabhi cows, who is served by many gopis who plays the flute. That's all. Chintamani verse. Krishna turned his head. He didn't say anything. And then he nodded his head. He nodded his head, which meant, okay, what else do you have to say? Kind of saying like, okay, you got me on that one. What else? So then they began to glorify him. Oh Lord, you have mercifully liberated us, and that is befitting for you. For you are the ultimate cause of our bondage. In other words, because of your desire, we were bound, and because of your desire, we're now liberated. And Krishna said, are you suggesting that I'm the cause of your misdeeds? And Nalakuvara says, you are the controller, the ultimate permitter. Therefore, we suggest that you are the remote cause of our conduct. And Krishna smiled. You mean I did everything and you're free of all offense? No, that's not what we're saying. We take responsibility. But the scriptures say you're the material cause of everything. So therefore, we think it was ultimately your arrangement that we would be blessed like this. Now Krishna is still playing with the mortar and the ropes, and they're like confused. Here was the person who remained unfettered by the ropes of nature, yet who was tied by the waist by his mother. In their bewilderment, the demigods just shook their heads and kneeling before Krishna said, we cannot understand your lordship. And in trying to do so, we become confused and disoriented. Therefore, it is better that we simply offer our obeisances unto you. Yeah, so, they understand the position of Krishna as the supreme, and they're thinking, did he's the supreme with these ropes? He pulls the tree down. He's full of Shakti, power, omniscient. And they're just getting bewildered. If that's true, how is it that he's bound by a mortar by his mother? And they just thought, all right, we'll stop thinking about this because we can't understand it. Of course, we understand that was Lila. He allowed himself to be bound not by the ropes of Jasoda, but by the ropes of affection. So then Krishna bewildered them more because Krishna was playing with their prayers. They'd say one thing, they go, as we just discussed. So, but it was by Krishna's grace and desire that he allowed them to understand his position as God. So, Actually, Manigriva at this point and Nalakuvera were in ecstasy. They were crying. So they went on to say, you, the source of all incarnations, the avatari, you are the source. And Krishna said, what grounds did you draw that conclusion? Now Manigriva comes up like the lawyer. So he says, confined to tree bodies, we stood here for almost 20,000 years. And by Narada's grace, we had full consciousness of your beautiful land. But in these past few years, since your appearance here in Gokula, we have seen you kill Putana, Trinabarta, and Shaktasura. Those were no ordinary feats. So, in other words, Krishna's asking, well, you're making all these conclusions, but what's the evidence? And they're saying, we saw it. We were here watching your Leelas, sitting in your courtyard. Now the Kuvera then said, we saw you reveal the universe in your mouth to your mother. Now you've uprooted our tree bodies. A feat that 1,000 men couldn't do. And now we see you. So we're now seeing your supernatural strength. Therefore, we can say you are the supreme. We have evidence. So then they bowed down and they were in ecstasy, as anyone would be in that situation. And they were just staring at Damodar and they couldn't speak. Quite an emotional experience for them, you could imagine. Isn't it? 20,000 years as trees. Now they get to meet Krishna. That is super special. So, it's a pretty highly emotional time for them, don't you think? So they bowed down, then they got up, they wiped away their tears. And then they looked around and they saw the coward boys. I think it was like a little hill, as I remember or envision, a little hill. And and then they see the coward boys. And the coward boys are like, oh my God, who's that? And then Nalakuvera Manigriva thought, the Brajbasis are all going to come here because this is where the sound came from, and they're all going to want to see what happened. So they thought, we should leave now. We're not actually suited to be here. We're demigods. We don't really belong here. And so they asked for permission to leave. And then they asked for some instructions. And they said, we remain your servants. Whatever you ask us to do, we'll do. And we'll remain the servant of Lord Shiva, Narada Muni, the Vaishnavas. And we want to be servants of the Brajbasis. So the Nalakuvera says, if we as offenders have obtained what is unobtainable, then now, as your devotees, what will not be possible by the grace of Narada? Please, with their humility and the intensity of their desire for Braj Bhakti. Pleased with their humility. So here's a good point. Maybe we'll just end here for today. We're about halfway through of this story. Krishna's, they've become humble. They've learned their lesson the hard way. And we can see that Krishna is pleased by their humility. That's what's going on here. So, they were proud, they made a mistake, they became humble, and now everything is good. So Krishna is going to speak. Stay tuned next time to hear what he says. Hare Krishna. Well, we'll see how many questions there are, and then if there's time, we will take your questions. I mean, excuse me, not if there's time. We will take your questions. If there's time, we can go back to the story. Are your hairs all standing on end now? Tears in your eyes? Did any of you fall off your seats? Rolling on the ground, screaming? Nobody? You're all sitting there. Well, so unfortunate. No ecstasy. Maybe tomorrow. If you have love for Krishna, you'll be screaming in ecstasy when you hear these leelas. Jyotirmaya says, can there be pride also in austerities, like someone is proud because he's doing things so good in Krishna consciousness? You know, Jyotirmaya, you don't have to do austerities to be proud. All you have to do is have 1 penny in your pocket. You can be proud of that. Even the pauper is proud of his penny. You know that song? I just made it up. It's a purport from the Bhagavatam. Symptom of Kali Yuga. Even the pauper is proud of his penny. So meditate on this, Jyotirmaya, and everyone else. Say, why is someone proud? I said, well, I do all these austerities, so I became proud of my austerities. Yeah, that absolutely can happen, no question. But you don't need to do austerities to become proud. You ever see somebody do something and they do a really bad job of it and they're really proud of it? Have you ever seen that? I'm so proud I cooked the offering for the deities, and you taste it. And it's like, get this person out of the kitchen for the next 100 lifetimes. We can't offer this to the deities. And they're very, oh, I cook for the deities. I'm the man. Isn't it? Have you seen that before? If someone leads a kirtan, they're really fired up, and it was like really bad kirtan, and they're really proud. And they're thinking everybody's loving it. And, we're all trying to encourage them and say, Prabhu, that was a nice kirtan. Oh, thank you. And it's just like, yeah. So you don't really need to do anything great to become proud. Even 1 penny will do it. Said, hey, I have a penny. Look at this. I got a penny. Do you have a penny? You don't have a penny? I'm better than you. I have a penny. You don't. Isn't it? Do you ever get like a new pair of shoes or a new shirt? You get this like cool t-shirt and you wear the t-shirt. You go, hey, I'm cool. Look at my t-shirt. Yeah, isn't it? Or get your new tattoo, like I have a cooler tattoo than you do. It's like proud of your tattoo, proud of your t-shirt. Yeah, anything. Look at my tilak. You can't see my tilak because everything is washed out. Look at my tilak. Isn't it perfect? Better than your tilak. I'm proud of my tilak. Yeah, so you don't need much to be proud of, Jyotirmaya. You don't have to do austerities, but the answer to your question is yes. It is a liability anytime that you do anything great. There's a liability that you'll become proud, for sure. And conversely, for a humble person, it doesn't mean if they conquer the whole world 10 times over, they'll become proud. So for the proud, anything will make them proud. And for the humble person, it's like nothing is going to make them proud. Isn't it? Have you seen that? Like, someone does something great and you try to tell them, they're like, it's just mercy, right? And someone does, and it's something horrible and you give them a little pat on the back just to encourage them. And they're like, their head grows, like size of 100 basketballs, isn't it? So, it really goes back to one state of consciousness, because if one is humble, things are not going to arouse pride very much, if at all. And if one is proud, anything can arise. They're always looking for something to toot their horn. Question from last Wednesday. I would not agree to suffering for all the rest to be delivered, but I think it would sometimes agree Krishna would deliver all the suffering of the entities and would free suffering the one who agreed to suffer also. Yeah. Well, that's actually what happened. That was from last week. Vasudev Datta wanted to take all the karma of all living entities so they could all go back to Godhead. Krishna said, I'll send them all back to Godhead. You don't have to suffer their karma. So if you're willing to take everyone's karma, that's nice, but Krishna will protect you. So P said, regarding the question about can we perform devotional service while being anxious? We're talking about anxiety. I guess I should have taken these questions first. Can it be that devotional service can heal anxiety, and by doing things for Krishna, we become less self-obsessed and therefore less anxious? Yes. Even P, if you're in anxiety, but it's anxiety for Krishna, it's a lot different than being anxiety about yourself. It's blissful anxiety. I believe that anxiety is almost always connected to ego, and the closer to Krishna we get. Oops. Krishna we get, the less space we give our ego. Yeah. Material anxiety. Yeah. Trying to control what you can't control. Yeah. Anxiety for Krishna is good. Material anxiety, yeah, we're always worried. Am I going to be happy? Am I going to be comfortable? Is everything going to be all right? And the anxiety of the devotees is everything going to be all right for Guru and Krishna. And then you stop worrying about yourself because you're worrying about somebody else. Right? Isn't that amazing? And then when your faith increases, you will never worry about your own maintenance because you'll have faith that Krishna is always taking care. So why worry? Yes, it's one of the signs of surrender. You know Krishna takes care of you. So Krishna Karshana. How is it that the pride appeared in pure devotee like gopis? It seems this pride that this was spiritual because it was like the pride in the gopis was actually Krishna's arrangement because he wanted to. He wanted to leave the rasa dance because by leaving the rasa, you need an excuse to leave. That was his excuse. And then by leaving the rasa dance, it increased the separation, which increased the love and affection. That's really the insider, what do we say? The internal reason. And the external reason is that he wanted to show that if you become proud, I will leave you. But Krishna really left them. Prabhupada says the gopis became proud. So that's for us, thinking, oh, I have Krishna, he's all mine, no one else has him. Yeah, that's for us. But really, Krishna arranged them to become proud because they can't be materially proud. So that he would have an excuse to leave them and increase their separation. And a synonym for separation is love, just more intensified love. What are the psychological reason of pride? Feeling not enough, that's one of them. Yeah, like there's an insecurity about ourselves, like we need other people, right? Other people to recognize us. Some people will say that the reason is that we feel insecure about who we are. And we want to do something to impress others so that they won't really see what we're really like. Because if they saw what we're really like, then we would lose status. and we want status in the eyes of others. So we want to perform in a way that we keep our status. So, isn't it? Like, you want to keep your status in the eyes of others? If you do, you'll have to perform in a way to keep up your status, right? So that's why we're concerned. A pure devotee is concerned with pleasing Guru and Krishna. He's not concerned if other people think he's great or not great. It doesn't, it's not what he lives for. He lives for pleasing Guru and Krishna. So if we live for pleasing others in the sense of getting their acknowledgement, then that is material life, material consciousness. Of course, we bring in material consciousness to Krishna consciousness, that's for sure. We're not pure when we join, but we are supposed to recognize these things, and then we can weed them out. Try to prevent that kind of thinking from going on. And your question is also a question for self-reflection. Everybody can ask themselves, why? Why do I need others to think I'm great? Isn't that what pride is all about? I need to impress you all, right? Let me think of something I can tell you that would impress you. Okay, when I was a young boy, 13, I was the top student in such and such class. Now, why would I tell you that? I want to impress you. I want you to think that I'm smart. That makes me feel good that you think I'm smart. Right? Now, a devotee cannot experience pleasure or happiness if it doesn't give Krishna pleasure. Do you think it gives Krishna pleasure that you toot your horn to get everyone to respect you? No, it doesn't. So it's entirely material pleasure that we're trying to get from ego gratification by advertising in one way or another our greatness to others. But for devotee understands that doesn't please Krishna. It might please my material senses, but it doesn't please him. So why would I do it if it doesn't please him? That's an important principle, not just for this, but for so many things. So we talked about this before. Remember I asked you the question, can you enjoy sense gratification? Everybody said, yes. And I said, but sense gratification doesn't give Krishna pleasure. That means we can enjoy something that doesn't give Krishna pleasure. That's a problem, right? So gratification of ego is in that category of which we can enjoy something for ourselves. It doesn't give Krishna pleasure. But a pure devotee can't enjoy anything unless it gives Krishna pleasure. If it doesn't give him pleasure, they can't enjoy it. So that's our disease. We can enjoy something that doesn't give Krishna pleasure, isn't it? Right? Admit it, everyone. Put your hand on the Bhagavad Gita, admit and say, I am guilty of this crime. Yeah, we're all guilty of this crime. That's what it means to be a conditioned soul. But at least we have to clarify what the crime is we're guilty of so we can do something about it. So so I would ask all of you to answer this question. What is the psychological reason for your pride? Do you need to be high in the pecking order? Do you need to establish yourself high? Is that important for you? People respect you as a great devotee. Is it important for you? Why? Why do you need that? Ask yourself. If that's not your service to Guru and Krishna, why do you have to go out of your way to get it? And if What if somebody thinks you're stupid? What if someone thinks you're not that great? How does that make you feel? Not good, right? But why should that matter? Because whether you're smart or not, you can please Krishna. One devotee said to me the other day, I don't feel smart enough. I said, smart enough for who? Like, Krishna needs you to be smart? Krishna looks at your IQ before he decides if you can be a devotee? Why do I need to show myself as smart? To impress other people. Why do I need to impress other people? Because it's important for me. Now, why is it important? Maybe to be accepted in a group or accepted or become friends with devotees. That's okay. Maybe that's a good reason, but not to impress others. Maybe you want to be in a group, discuss philosophy. If they think you're smart, they'll let you in the group. Okay, fine. But not that I'm going to go in the group and speak in a way that I can impress everybody. That's not. We don't want that. So one of the first stages of becoming more humble is just recognizing all the signs of our lack of humility, where they show up, and catching ourselves and asking ourselves, why am I doing that? Why am I acting this way? Who am I trying to impress? Why am I trying to impress this person? And usually, the next question is, if let's say, why am I trying to impress this person? Well, I want this person to think I'm good at this. Okay. And the next question is, why do you doubt yourself that you're good at that? Because that's why you want someone else to think you're good at it, and you doubt it yourself. So ask yourself, what am I doubting in myself that I need other people to recognize in me? Why am I doubting myself? And why is it important that they think that way about me? Because I'm doubting myself. I don't think I'm like that. I think the best way to deal with this that I have understood is what I just said. Krishna, your relationship with Krishna is not based on your material qualification, how smart you are, how good you are as a writer, as an artist, as a speaker, as a manager, as a leader, as a book distributor. That's all. You can use that in Krishna's service. You can use that to please him. But fundamentally, doing those things in and of themselves are not going to impress Krishna unless they're done with bhakti. Hey, Krishna, I distributed 100 Bhagavad Gitas, and now I'm proud of it. And Krishna's like, big deal. I can distribute 100 Bhagavad Gitas in a second, big deal. So it's not going to impress him, right? Krishna, I have an IQ of 185, big deal. So what? That, by my standard, that's pretty dumb. You can impress Krishna. We don't need to impress him with anything, but with our bhakti. So I'm not smart enough. Smart enough for Krishna. I'm not good enough. Good enough for Krishna. Maybe not smart enough for your father who wanted you to be a PhD student. Maybe not good enough for your mother who wanted you to be like the perfect princess. But smart enough for Krishna, good enough for Krishna. And that's all that matters, right? Isn't it? Like, show me the purport where Prabhupada said, I do not accept you as a disciple because you're not smart enough. What purport is that in? Tad vidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Just inquire from the Guru, surrender, serve. As long as you have high IQ. If you don't, forget it. No, I never read that verse. So that's all, I think, all a product of our modern culture. Isn't it? Yeah, I'm coming to see um, the modern social dysfunction in a new light. It's come out very clear during COVID of how toxic our culture is. I mean, I always knew it. I kind of dropped out of it when I was 17, but I'm seeing it from a new perspective here. And this is one of the damaging effects of our culture, comparison. And social media has exacerbated it to no end, right? Hey, Gabriella, how many likes did you get for your last post? Oh, I only got 13. Oh, what a loser. I got 3,000. How's that make you feel? Yeah. Right? Isn't it? Right? Yeah. So that social pressure and comparison is destroying us. It's anti-varnashram because, you know, it's like you're by nature a Vaishya and you're trying to be a Brahmin and comparing yourself to a Brahmin. That's not going to work. You're not going to be. You're different, right? Or vice versa. You're a Brahmin. It's more like you're a Brahmin and everybody wants you to be a Vaishya, isn't it? Because your self-worth is, you know, equivalent to how many zeros you have in your bank balance, isn't it? More zeros in your bank balance, more self-worth, right? Higher position in the company, more self-worth, you know, isn't it? So that's the problem, I think. I mean, a big problem. And then you're surrounded in the cities by these overachievers who are excessively trying to achieve something for whatever, who knows why, you know, to get the accolades of something or someone, or, you know, be number one, or, isn't it? Our society is very obsessive. So if you see that and get infected by it, then it makes you feel like, well, look what he's doing. I'm not doing 1/10 of that. Yeah, well, he works 20 hours a day. You want to do that? 7 days a week? You want to exercise 4 hours a day? That's what he does. You think that's a good idea? That's why he has those muscles, or that's why she has that body. So you start comparing yourself to that. Great way to like just fall right out of Krishna consciousness. Isn't it? I was just reading Prabhupada in his last days. I was reading earlier this morning. He was saying, he said, just live simply. Just grow your own food, grow your own cotton, make your own cloth. Keep it simple. Don't live extravagantly. Don't. And this whole modern culture is all about more. More is better. More is better. Isn't it? So it's really antithetical to everything we're teaching. And if you buy into it, then you get affected by it and then you suffer from it. I'm not that smart. Well, you know, you are what you are. So you have so many good qualities and so many abilities and so many talents. You know, if you don't have 185 IQ, it's not the end of the universe. You can still do so many wonderful things, right? So all of you have talents, all of you have abilities. You just don't have all abilities and all talents. And you all don't have the greatest abilities in certain areas. And even areas that you're good at, you're probably not the best at it. So what are you going to do? Lament the rest of your life? The Prabhupada said, just use what you have. That's the principle. But I only have $10. Okay, so you have $10 to spend for Krishna. He has 1 million. All right, so he can spend 1 million. You only have 10. You can't spend 11. You only have 10. You're going to lament about it the rest of your life? No. You use it. And then Krishna wants to give you more intelligence, he'll give it to you. If you're using whatever intelligence you have, they'll give you more. So this is like really important. Okay. So we still have 3 minutes. Carmela says, I don't have Facebook, stopped using Instagram for 2 years to be free from social media. I still have the feeling that I have to satisfy a certain sort. It's a harsh, yeah, it's deeply rooted conditioning and habit, isn't it? I wish I could endow you all with my nature, which my nature was, ever since I knew my nature it was not to care what other people thought. It was just by nature, I was like that. It's so liberating. And one of the reasons I think I came to that is I realized that most people are in ignorance. So why should I care what ignorant people think? Everyone's going the wrong direction. I think maybe I should go that direction. No, I know I'm going the right direction and they're going the wrong direction. So that's important to know. You go on Facebook, what are you going to hear? The economy is going to crash. If you got a brain, you got to investigate it. You have to invest in this right now. And, you know, if you would have invested in this 10 years ago, you'd have millions and millions of dollars. And so, all right, what's the assumption there? That you're a loser because you didn't invest in that. And you're going to lose again if you don't invest in that. And the assumption behind it all is if you have millions and millions of dollars, you're happy, you're good, isn't it? And so when you're on social media, you're going to see that, right? All these happy faces of all these people making tons of money on the internet, you know, with their big cars and big smiles. Yeah. And they're completely messed up families and kids and wives and divorces. They don't show that part, do they? Then you go to the village of Indians. Look at these poor people, you know, look at how they live. Yeah. Look at the smiles. Look at the family. They're all together. They all live together, you know. So, you know, you have to see like that. Okay, so we'll end here. We have 2 minutes before we start our japa session. Thank you all. Thank you all. So next time you see that beautiful man or woman walk out of their Rolls Royce, don't be bewildered that they're happy. They don't have the Maha Mantra.